Dance of Dreams is the Vaesen mystery included in the core rulebook, and as such, an interesting option for your first foray into the world of the Nordic horror TTRPG. Having recently run it, I would like to briefly talk about this scenario, its weak and strong sides, and give some tips on running it. Be warned, there be spoilers here. If you will be a player in this scenario, or do not want to have it spoiled for any other reason, I suggest turning this video off right about now. Dance of Dreams takes place in a haunted inn, Sounds of Uppsala, and has the player characters investigate ghostly appearances. The mystery provides background on the adventure, descriptions of important NPCs, and the location of this investigation, the Witch Cat Inn. Which, by the way, for a place called the Witch Cat Inn, has a surprising lack of actual cats. Do with that what you will. One of the best things in this adventure is the countdown. The writers spell out 3 distinct phases of the investigation, which have things become more and more dangerous and supernatural at the Witch Cat Inn. This countdown is the perfect pacing tool. Moving from one phase of the countdown to the next is a great way to keep the tension rising and the player characters on their toes. Whenever you feel the characters have gathered enough clues and there is a lull in your pacing, proceed to the next phase and keep your players engaged. Another excellent thing about this scenario is the amount of information presented on all important NPCs and locations at the Witch Cat Inn. While I personally didn't use any of the floor plans, I can imagine these become useful for groups who want to track where everyone currently is. Handouts are also provided. The scenario itself is well structured. After a brief introduction about the adventure, we get more background information on the origins of the haunting at the inn. Everything revolves around the brutal death of Oskar Hjord, a member of the society who was killed here 50 years ago for his unwillingness to go along with some secret plan. This hooks in nicely with the larger background narrative, or dare I call it a meta-plot, of the Vaesen setting. However, the adventurer never specifies what it was that was planned 50 years ago and why exactly Oskar returns now. The scenario only states that it is now time to carry out the plan. I guess they want to keep things mysterious and give space to the GM to come up with their own reasons, but I would have preferred a clearer explanation. The scenario also includes some heavy themes you want to clear with your group in Session 0. As written, there are very clear signs of both physical and emotional domestic violence between Sami Harjula and his daughter Sofia. Attempted suicide is also involved. Make sure to clear with your group if topics like these are okay, or if they should be veiled or avoided. Considering a Revenant is involved here, there's also the chance a player character might get possessed or enthralled. Fortunately, the authors explain clearly that this does not take away the full agency from the player. While the player characters will have to attempt to harm their fellow investigators while enthralled, the player is still in charge about how that exactly happens. When running this scenario, the countdown is your best pacing mechanic. I would advise to be clear about each phase of it and decide when you want to trigger it. Entering phase 1 is great once the PCs have had some time to talk to NPCs and gather some clues. Phase 2 causes them to change their objective for a bit and can shift the tone of the adventure severely. Phase 3 is of course a perfect climax before helping Oskar find rest, or a dramatic finish to an investigation that has gone horribly wrong. All the NPCs in the scenario are great information dispensers. While Sami will not easily be convinced that his inn is actually haunted, Sofia will gladly share her knowledge with friendly player characters, especially if they show an interest in watching her shadow play. The other guests at the inn also know about strange events, but be careful to not have them become red herrings or have their side stories detract too much from the main story. For example, Lisa Finkel's drugs business could easily distract from the problem at hand. My final tip is in regards to the length of the scenario. The text suggests you can run it in 2 to 3 sessions, and in not more than a single session if you skip the invitation and journey to the Witch Cat Inn. Having run it myself in 2 sessions, I do not think it would be satisfying to run this in a single 3 to 4 hour session. You would like the time for portraying important NPCs, setting the mood and tone, and most importantly, giving the player characters the chance to gather clues and learn about the mystery at hand. While I don't think it is impossible to run it as a one-shot, I would strongly suggest planning at least 2 sessions for this. All in all, Dance of Dreams is a great introduction to Vaesen, and if you're looking to dive into the mysteries of this TTRPG, it is an excellent place to start. Have fun investigating.